12, again, I have a lot of respect for Chris Coleman, but I do disagree with some of his letter. And Mike, earlier you mentioned there was another handout, but there was so much information, I didn't know which one to go through. And I thought the one from your leader was more important than a handout that the mayor may not have had a lot of input on. Number 12, it's the left bottom of that first side. Every time, studies have shown we have ample existing parking to accommodate the ballpark residents and visitors to the neighborhood. What there isn't right now is ample parking to replace the 56 spots Market House owns and is about to lease. There may be spots that they can lease, but not own. And there's absolutely not ample parking for the farmers market. There just isn't. And telling the customers to park over at Union Depot or on the other side of the Lafayette Bridge. When I saw these people on Saturdays handing out flyers, 200 flyers with Matt here, I was struck by how many were aware of this and they were unhappy because they knew their convenient parking was going to go away. And they're not going to ride a bus down or a bike. I mean, they want to drive in and out. What's going to happen is they're going to come less often. And that's going to hurt some of the growers' bottom lines. Some of them are going to have to leave. The market's going to contract. If you save Gillette, 585, is that what your estimator came up with? 585 spots in the lower level. Maybe you set aside the front corner, 56 spots, and Market House can get whatever money they're going to get from the city to get back to the city in order to buy a spot. Maybe you need to set aside another 100 because there is a shortage of close-by parking for like the new farmers market lofts, apartments. They didn't put in enough stalls to serve the apartments. There's not going to be enough stalls to serve the new Rayette apartments that are coming on. But that still gives you a gain of 400 spaces for the farmers market. And here's the facade. Again, I'm an artist. I don't look at that as being ugly. It's a blank canvas. Okay? Earlier you saw a rendering. You can do that to that building so easily. That's absolutely real. You know, Broadway drops down. It's a grade drop. So it starts up high here. So you could do a true intersection there with lights and have driving right into that 2-block long parking lot. And then a new grand entrance looking up the length of 5th Street, welcoming you, rather than looking down the end of 5th Street and seeing a bunch of cars going back and forth on the Lafayette Bridge. This is level with the front entrance there. And then these are the other floors still above. You can do a wonderful sign, Saints Field. I mean, God, it looks like a major league ballpark on a budget. There's another concept that I came up with. I didn't quite like that first one. It doesn't look baseball-y enough. And this is more in keeping with what the Saints deserve. Saints Field, I mean, look at that. This is real.
Bill, maybe you could give naming rights to Gillette or to Diamond Products if they're still in existence. That would help defer the cost some more.
I did send an email to the city staff person on Friday. I said, who gets naming rights to this? Is that something that the Saints are entitled to or the city? He couldn't give me an answer. I don't know if Andy, if you have an answer to that question. Do you have a lease? Do you have a firm lease with the city at this point?
We're still negotiating. We're finalizing the business deal with the Saints.
When will that be done?
When it's done.
So that may be done after the loan is straight. But the thing I want to understand is we've got the money in the bank, but we don't have a lease with the major tenant done. I don't. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have to be a member
Speak
of
up.
the Lowertown Artist Community besides living in the neighborhood, and I was all for this.
Where's the other mic, please?
RaisingStPaul4.
Right here.
Even though a lot of artists in the lofts weren't for it, I was all for it.
Speak up again. There you go.
Okay, I'm just a member of the Lowertown, not only the community, I live here, but also of the artist community. And I've always been for the Saints Ballpark. I think it's a wonderful idea. It sounds like a win-win situation for the Saints, but I'm feeling like as a resident and an artist, it's a lose-lose situation for us. I don't know how all these parking spaces, even along 6th Street, the north side of 6th Street, west of Sibley, those are all gone. I have 12 grandchildren and 5 children who like to come and visit us. There's no place for them to park unless they go and pay someplace. They've raised the time limit on the parking meters around the Jackson building where my studio is. I think you used to be able to park after 4 free, now it's after 5. And if you pay those meters, which we do, you have to go down and refill them every 2 hours. Now, what artist is going to run up and down 4 floors? It's like there is no consideration for the people who live in this community. I hear a very closed attitude coming from, in all respect to the Saints people. As I say, I'm all for the ballpark, but this is just so cut and dried and so hard-nosed. There must be some ways that we can make better use of that $54 million, get more year-round use out of that. That's all I have to say.
A couple more numbers. Peter, I'm going to a couple more numbers. Number 13, Mayor Coleman, and of course the Green Line will begin operating in 2014, bringing thousands of fans to the ballpark via light rail transit. And they can bring thousands of fans to the Gillette Building, not only for the ball games, but all the other uses year-round, every day of the week. Number 14, Peter, I'm going to let me get through these, okay? There'll be time for questions. Number 14, we are currently working with the downtown parking lot owner to determine availability of replacement spots for the Market House. In the end, I'm hopeful the city will have an option on the table for the Market House condo owners. You deserve nothing less than spaces you own within a reasonable distance of your building. Gillette gives you that. The building is there. Peter, do you have a question?
I don't have a question. As you can tell, I have a slight accent. I did not grow
Germany.
up. Kind of. I did not grow up with baseball, and I have yet to attend the whole game. I still am in full favor of the Saints moving down there. But if the slight difference between north, northeast, north, northwest is so important, how come that so many major league baseball parks are located, have their main direction all over the place? How come that you don't insist on everything being roofed, so there will be no impact of the sunshine? And how come that baseball teams, opposing baseball teams, play in the same direction? If it's so important, shouldn't that be a factor? I know of no sport which has so much reliance on intangible things like sunshine and clouds and weather.
Soccer plays everywhere.
Exactly. Fields are all over the place.
Real quick on number 15. Number 15, in fact, the public process is so essential that we work with the Councilmember Council to create the Lowertown Ballpark Design and Construction Committee to help us make sure the ballpark enhances and fits into the neighborhood. In fact, they denied my and the other gentleman's ability to videotape this. This is being videoed, folks. You're going to see this on YouTube tomorrow. I have nothing to hide. Good. But the Lowertown Ballpark Design and Construction Committee chair did not want what happened at those meetings to be seen. I think it's a sad deal because there was a lot of good conversations. There was nothing that needed to be withheld from you. I'm really sorry that there was one video made. They won't allow me to release it. That's unfortunate. Real quickly here.
I went to some of those meetings and we couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
So why go?
Yeah. And things have changed recently, but that seems because there seems to be a little bit more education happening in the neighborhood. This new ballpark will be a great addition, and I believe strongly that the neighborhood, the city, and fundamentally the project can do better than forcing a ballpark to fit into a dilapidated cement facade. Now I find that insulting. Diamond cleaned up that building, not perfectly, but they cleaned up. They put it on the market. And if the city, this is a fact, if the city had not bought it, a private entity could have and brought in hundreds of jobs. Somebody knows about the jobs that used to be in there. And put in another factory, warehouse, office facility. The building didn't need to be destroyed. It's not. You can walk around that building. The building was finished in '69. You can hardly find a piece of chipped concrete on the thing. That's how well it was built. These are a couple photos. There's the building again. I mean, there's the front entrance. I mean, you can walk around. You're not going to see any crumbling concrete on that.
All marble
That's copper. There's marble. What's in the entry, Charles?
All marble walls and the whole interior
Yeah.
black in.
As I said, there's loading dock doors perfectly for reuse for parking on that level, and you go around the corner. Okay, you recognize that building?
Holiday Inn.
It's the Holiday Inn. Do you remember what it looked like before Holiday Inn bought it? Do you remember? The Holiday Inn looked a lot like Gillette. It looked like the offspring of Gillette. It was concrete with thin ribs going through it, not wide ones like this. Holiday Inn changed the facade and doubled the room rates. They're making a lot of money off of it now. And there we are back to that Busch Stadium. That was a dilapidated building. And look what they got. Put a little money into it. It's providing housing. It's a great asset to the city. And let's go to the last one, 17. I am confident that our existing partners like the Winter Carnival will fully utilize the facility, and in the fun is good spirit of the Saints, many ideas for new seasonal events and activities will certainly emerge. I think all of us agree with that. But with the Gillette concept, there's so much more to offer people. One thing I want to talk about the Winter Carnival very quickly, and I love the Winter Carnival. Being as this is dug into the ground, and it has more of a south-southeast face, the sun's going to get in there real good in the wintertime. That playing field will be warmer than the surrounding area. It'll be hard to keep an ice skating rink or snow sculptures in there from melting. Now Gillette, on the other hand, all of that's going to be in shadow in the wintertime. So you're going to be able to have an ice skating rink, snow sculptures, or lots of things going on in there. And there's that cutaway again. I look forward to continuing to work with you as we move forward with the Lowertown Ballpark project. I'm hearing that the mayor wants the building down no matter what. No matter what. Tom, you heard a comment from somebody yesterday. Are you privy to telling people what that was, or would you rather not?
Well, I'll just kind of get into this. It was actually a follow-on with Paul Johnson.
Paul Johnson is the project manager hired by the city of St. Paul.
And what he allowed us to do is to get, again, because the costs are so wildly apart. I mean, we're not talking, for instance, the $12 million cost on redoing the parking underneath there. And we're not talking like a 10 or 25% difference in opinion, and we're talking like several-fold difference of opinion as to what this is. And of course, this is one of the big things we would like to do, is to get down, and I've always been curious about, is to get down to the bottom of what these costs really are, because they're bandied around like they're the gospel, yet in like a $12 million thing is just so far out of whack, it's not even in the same planet of reality. And so what we're doing is I'm not going to say what the costs are, because we're going to narrow it down more as we get the plans. Paul Johnson has agreed to send us the plans for the building and also for the proposed site that they're doing, because we also have some opinions that are a little bit different on what the two proposals side by side actually do cost. And again, we can't do a detailed analysis, but we can do an analysis that can come within 10, 15, 20% just based on square feet and so on and so forth. And if you get an estimator that like for instance the one we're talking to that worked for Mortensen Donler for over 30 years, we think we can get some good costs. So anyways, in the process of being, Paul said that the mayor has come up to these conclusions because we don't have any costs. I said, well, we'll have some costs maybe in a couple of weeks that you can look at side by side. And then he thought that would be good, but then on the other hand, he made a statement that the mayor's already made up his decision. So I'm frankly confused, because on one hand, he's been very gracious in allowing us to go forward with actually doing some analysis on this. It's a little bit more than just by experts. On the other hand, saying, well, why are you already doing it? Because he's already made his decision. I don't understand. It's like I say, it's cross currents, it's conflict, and that's all I can say.
So we have a mayor that refuses to listen.
So I think that's important to respond to. First, Paul Johnson is our owner's representative for the project. He works for the city of St. Paul. He was part of the team that helped build Target Field. He knows a little bit about what it takes to build a ballpark. I think in responding to that, a couple things that need to be pointed out. The first, the city does have a position. The mayor has reached a conclusion about what is best for the ballpark. You have it in front of you. You have the letter. You have the fact sheet. We are also committed to continuing to work to solve the market house parking, as I stated earlier. We're also committed to provide information as we're available as questions come up. So all of that is true. And the city's position is on paper, including the fact sheet. We are also committed to continue to work as this goes on to address parking overall as it relates to the ballpark. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We have 2 years to get that work done in terms of how people access the ballpark and the entrances on both sides, how shuttles contribute to how people are going to access the ballpark as they do at the existing Midway, as they do for the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, as they do for TCF Bank Field in Minneapolis at the University, the Metrodome, and Target Center. We will continue to work to resolve and optimize parking as it relates to the Saints games and as it relates to everything else that happens in Lowertown as the parking situation continues to change. But the city certainly does have a position on what's best for the ballpark moving forward. It's in the letter, it's in the fact sheet that you all have.
But the city doesn't have an opinion on us, the tax base of St. Paul.
Catherine, real quick, please, real quick.
We can increase the tax base of St.
Yes.
Paul by
Yes.
keeping the Gillette building
Yes.
standard.
Speaking the truth.
We can bring in more taxes. Now we look at the Viking Stadium, well, they're down. They don't get the pull tab revenue that they thought. But if we use the Gillette building, we will have taxes coming in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to...
No, I don't. Well, I would like you to speak. You're shaking your head no the whole time she's speaking. Could you speak to why you disagree?
The building has been on the market for 7 years. There's no users going into that space.
Yes, but that was before the Twin Stadium.
No, but it's an industrial use. I mean, that building was marketed on a global level. No one came to use the
That was
building.
before the same stadium was talked about, though.
There's a previous use, and even now, your proposal bill is something close to 80,000 square feet of commercial space. That's half the space of Macy's that's already closed. That's connected to the central business district, connected to Skyways, connected to office buildings.
I don't understand why the mayor, who considers himself to be a progressive person, is so opposed to exploring all these options.
Well, I
Maybe
think the market's
Macy's would get
explored a
someone
lot of
in.
options, and I think the market.
I want to know to that
Spend
Macy's.
their money to open up a business.
It appears like kind of like an effort to kind of push the farmers market out. Maybe not even wholly in part just because of the stadium. It seems that as they were taking down the Macy's, they already had plans for Kowalski's. Is that not right? There wasn't even proposed at all. It was, wasn't it? Lunds, yeah, Kowalski, same thing. I've played virtually all sports throughout throughout high school, so I empathize fully with what the Saints' position is. But however, as far as like the community aspect is involved, I don't necessarily know that totally tearing down would be the best. When we look at repurposing buildings, can you go to the aerial? 262 Studios was owned by industrialists, correct? Right? Okay, back in the 30s, 262 was owned by industrialists. What happened was when the industrialists moved out of their heavy equipment, artists moved in, okay? And what the artists did is they fought for their sanctity of creative space, okay?
Nearly every building you're seeing has been repurposed. None of them, very few, have the original purpose today as what was originally intended. Very good point.
So if you want to fit into the community, why not fit into the community? As far as Lyra is concerned, what we're trying to do, I think what the council members, he might not be aware of it, but I think what the general consensus for the council members is trying to turn Wall Street into another Nicollet, another, place where we have the little, we're trying to compete with Minneapolis, it seems like, maybe not, but
Pedestrian walkway.
pedestrian walkways, there's no place to get from Black Dog.
Already.
There's no place to get from Black Dog to 262 and cross the street over to, you want your kids running in front of the light rail? Is this even, and there's also options for the bicyclists in a park and ride, Because we do that at other stadiums anyway.
Yeah.
And as far as, you know, the sign issue is concerned, if we left it as farmer's market, you know, plants need sign anyway, so.
I've talked, I'm trying to wrap this up real quick, I've talked to a lot of people that go to the Saints games. None of them say they won't go if they go to Gillette. I mean, if Gillette were to happen. One other thing we didn't bring up earlier, because the field is set far back into the building, that's so 6th Street can wrap around it, and perhaps a bike lane or certainly a sidewalk. The depth of the stance behind home plate, you have to do a tier. There's not room for 20 consecutive rows. You have to be at 2 levels. Everyone I've talked to, rather than sitting in the 20th row, they'd rather sit in the 2nd row a little bit closer to the action. But as I said earlier, there's very few ideal ballparks. I mean, all of them have to work within some sort of constraints. But I told you earlier, Mayor Coleman would not look at this concept 2 years ago, February, period. Wouldn't even hear what the concept was.
Excuse me, Bill, that's just not true.
I
met with you personally with the mayor's staff in his conference room last year, and we corresponded with you back and forth.
I'm talking about the first time the mayor of the city had an opportunity to look at this, Mike. You're not aware of this. He rejected it. This was in February of 2011. That's a fact. So minds were made up a long time ago to take down this building. The parking is very important. Parking for the farmers market is critical, but also the economic opportunity. As far as tenants, I don't know your name, sir.
Mike Zipko.
Yes. Mike Zipko. I've been a retailer in downtown St. Paul for 19 years and 2 months. I've watched it all go away. I'm not finding fault with anything. I've survived. I know a little bit about the retail market. The potential tenants for this building are not the same type of potential retail tenants you would want for Macy's. The 3 potential tenants are the Twin City Model Railroad Museum. I told you their story earlier. They need to get out of Bandana Square. Their footprint is so large, they can't go into many spots. Going into the Macy's building, the cost per square foot would be prohibitive to them. The other one is 30,000 square feet. There was an artist who spoke up earlier. For a Minnesota Artisan Center, the city's concept has a classroom space and some corridors to hang art. A lot of ours find that offensive to hang art in an area where there's a ball game being played, where people are eating hot dogs and drinking beer. 30,000 square feet on the first floor. You could do something remarkable by utilizing the existing building. That one other level that was about 24,000 square feet, I said, put in that sports bar restaurant, overlooking the field. The potential is there, they're not being explored. They've been rejected.
Bill, if I may just take a second. My name is Tim Holden. I came last week to the meeting, and I just want to say my heart goes out to all the people that live downtown that are going to be affected by this, because this is going to destroy where you are. The parking is a huge, huge issue, and it should be planned before this thing takes place. That's the bottom line. It's just like the light rail. They did the same thing. They took over 1,000 spots with light rail with no plans to replace them. Now, I'm not against the stadium. I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see it get done right. And I get it done right or don't do it at all. David Thune, I give you the captain's patch again tonight. Telling people that last week you felt sad that this is a disservice to the city. All right, that's it right there, folks. This is a disservice. You didn't have your voices heard. You haven't been involved. They're going to ram this down your throats. The plans are already basically there. They're done. And Michael Hams, if you would, tell Mr. Mayor Coleman that it's time to get his resume ready because he's going to be fired come November 5th. It's time to find a new mayor, folks. Somebody that'll listen. Somebody that'll come and listen to what you have to say. This is absolutely ridiculous that you're having this meeting after the fact. People, your voices need to be heard. That's the bottom line. Your voices need to be heard. David Thune, you're a wonderful man. Good job.
We agree.
I wanted to bring up the fact that it's kind of discouraging hearing what's happening. Having just lost that sidewalk issue to another thing that actually is not going to do anything for St. Paul's at all. It's going to affect the sidewalk expansion. It's not going to do anything. And here we're talking about something that has a potential to do something for the tax base. We keep the one that was going to be a great big condominium, and now it's going to be much short pennier.
4 stories.
Well, don't we own that? I mean, we own a bunch of stuff that's not really adding to the tax base at all, and we're not using space. I just don't understand. It seems as if the city government is making all these decisions for
It's
us.
your money. It's your money.
And we moved downtown. We moved from Michigan, where actually we had city council meetings where we actually had a voice. And you know, I find that it's very difficult to be heard around here. And it's surprising because they invited people to move downtown as if they were really going to welcome residents, and now they're doing everything to make us feel unwelcome.
I'd like to interject.
There should be a cost-benefit analysis before any big project is undertaken. And I applaud Mr. Erickson and his group for trying to establish some ballpark, to use a funny term, for the Gillette idea. And there seems to be not really a very well broken down cost analysis for the other drawings and so forth. Because before you, and I'm not even talking about the human impact and all of the things that we've discussed today, but just the basic nuts and bolts, bricks and mortar cost of taking something down, putting something up. You know, I mean, I can't even imagine how the legislature approved bonding issues and so forth without actual dollars and cents, figures and estimates. So I think it's very important before this proceeds. It sounds like, from Mr. Erickson's point of view, that the Gillette reuse project, which has many neighborhood benefits, is also probably less expensive by far than the new building concept, which has some negative impacts galore.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Schmidt. I'm a 4th generation St. Paulite. I care about my city. I care about my community. I do have a unique perspective, I think. You can judge that in a moment here, on what's going on. I'm going to try to share what I would consider some St. Paul reality. And as I said at the last meeting, I think that Bill's vision, he's a visionary, this guy, is absolutely brilliant. I think we have an opportunity here that we really should not miss. Now, I got a question for you. How many people ever watched the show on Channel 2, Lost Twin Cities? A lot of people. It's a very popular show. I love that show. But you know what? We have lost so many landmarks in the Twin Cities in our generation, our lifetime. And thanks to sometimes the visionary or non-visionary wisdom of the city, we almost, as some of you will remember, maybe a lot of you, we almost lost the landmark center, okay? Yeah, that would have been an absolute sin. But the city in their wisdom was going to take it down. Now I'm going to give you a little different angle on this. In my community, does anybody remember the Gillette Children's Hospital by Lake Phelan? Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, now it's downtown. But again, in the wisdom of the city, they did tear down most of the hospital, which probably made sense. And now it's parkland. But does anybody remember the Gillette West Wing, which still exists? That was the library designed by Cass Gilbert, the architect of the state capitol. And I happen to be the chairman of the District 5 Gillette Site Task Force. I think, Dave, you might have been on the council back then. You probably remember that. And you know what my role was in this whole thing? My role was to do what's being done tonight and get through to the city, have them listen, and not tear that building down. And frankly, they had a lot more reasons to tear that building down than they do for the, and interestingly enough, it's the same name, the Gillette Building. Now, one was a business and one was a hospital, okay? But it's kind of ironic that it's the same doggone name. And so for 10 years, I fought the battle. And literally, at the end, I almost chained myself to a doggone bulldozer to keep them from tearing it down. Well, anybody who's interested, go out to Ivy Avenue now and see the gem in our community because of visionary thinking. And that's going on right here, right now. And it's about time that people start being visionary and seeing the vision here, and not just falling for this letter. This is just absolute justification for the mayor's wishes. It's justification. It's, frankly, I think it's a bunch of BS. And we're smarter to let this thing go through. Okay. Everybody in this room. So we all give some applause. Another thing, does anybody remember the movie Network with William Holden? when he leans out the window, he says, "I'm mad as heck and I'm not putting up with it anymore." Well, that's what should go on here tonight. We cannot allow this to happen. And I just don't know where the doggone bulldozer is to chain myself to at this time. Okay, you guys are great. Let's go for it, okay?
One thing I want to tell you folks is, I've been heaped a lot of scorn by some people. I've been yelled at meetings, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
I'm sorry about that.
I've seen it.
You know, Dave and I, we've disagreed a little bit over the years, as some of you know, but I think we found a shared. I'll give you a hug. This isn't, you know, the Landmark Center, it's like, I was born here but raised in rural Illinois, and I came back in 1980 after high school. It's like, it's incomprehensible that there was an argument made by the city and the powers that be to destroy that thing. Was it for a parking lot? Was it for a parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. Gillette, as I've shown you, this is real. I mean, I've renovated projects. I mean, I've never done anything like this. This is real what you're seeing. I mean, the building is structurally sound and it will take less money than the city's plan. It's not about historic preservation, it's about economic preservation. It's about preserving the farmers market from decline. It's about the market house people. It's about giving the Twin City Model Railroad Museum a home. They're just, what are we going to do? Wait for the Minneapolis to take them or wait for them to close? Because something's going to happen to them. They're an absolute gem. You have to go revisit them again. A lot of you haven't been out there yet. Go revisit them again. Mike Zipko, you mentioned there's no tenants. They're out there if we give them, if we don't reject the space that they could come to. And what I would like to introduce you right now is a potential tenant. This is Mr. Masad Yunus.
Masood Yunus, actually.
Masood, yes.
I'm actually one of the second person here in this room with a funny accent. Ironically, we both are cricket fans and followers. Avnet is really big in cricket, and so am I. Ani, thank you very much for being here too. Everyone in this room, thank you very much for inviting me over to this meeting as well. I'm going to bring in a little different perspective here because I'm not really a born St. Paul. I'm not really a born Minnesota. I was born in Dubai. I grew up playing cricket, but I made Minnesota my home about 14 years ago. And I come to farmers market here. The first place that I rented out in Minnesota was actually Collier Plaza. And I stayed there for 4 years until I got married and I figured there is nothing much to do here. So we moved on to Woodbury, and then from there we moved on to Edinburgh. So, you know, I think I have a little different perspective that I want to bring to the city as well. Anyone know about MoneyGram? It used to be headquartered in Minnesota. Now they have a huge big presence here, but I think they moved out to Dallas. MoneyGram is actually one of the biggest sponsors of cricket in the world. They don't sponsor much in America, but they sponsor a lot of activities across the world, and they are looking to become willing partner with opportunities like logistics and operational organizations to do that. United Health Group does a lot of sponsorship, thousands and thousands all throughout the year, throughout the United States and other places as well. I think there's a big bubbling community out here in Minnesota that you can probably look into. I know this perspective has probably not been brought to you until like 6 months ago. He did brought it up, and I actually met one of the architects too. You know, we talked about this opportunity and all that as well. I think the one thing that I bring to table here is I forged a partnership with Minnesota Twins last year. And I reached out to them, we talked about stuff, and they said, you know, there is a real opportunity to use the ballpark for other sport, and cricket is actually one that fits very well with the bill. And they are actually, that partnership is evolving. I think that's one opportunity where the city can consider, and I'm willing to help out with anything that I can. But there is definitely a lot of potential out here to bring cricket games out to this ballpark, and as well as to the Target Stadium as well. There is a very well-educated and well-earned population or community here that follows cricket, that plays cricket, and there's a good fan base out there too. There's a lot of development that's happening. I myself is a part of a national organization called American Cricket Federation. We're doing a lot of stuff here and there too. Moving forward, I think in about 3 to 5 to 6 years, even if cricket is not being heard a lot today, it might be in the next 3 to 4 years too. And I just request you to just pay a little attention to it and say there is an opportunity possibly out there too. Thank you.
It's a pleasure meeting this man. I've met a lot of nice people these last 2 years. It's hard for you to see. There's a dotted line around this. It's an oval. That's the size of a cricket field. And true, he could fit in this concept or yours, Andy. This one actually breaks the field. That's the plan area.
It can actually fit within the existing dimensions as well. That's standard dimension, but it actually still fit into this dimension that you already have out there in the ballpark.
How long do your typical games last?
So, you know, it's anywhere 3 to 4 hours, 2
Look
to
at the
7
time
hours,
they have
2
to
to
spend
5 days.
money there.
I was talking to one of my neighbors the other day who woke up early in the morning, like 4 o'clock, to watch this golf tournament in England or somewhere. And I said, well, Americans can watch cricket too.
Thank you. A friend of mine, Charles Senkler, has been a business owner in the city for many years. Go ahead, Charles.
Hello, everyone. And I don't really have a dog in the fight. I live downtown, but I live up by St. Joe's Hospital. I've looked at Lowertown for the last 25 years. I did some drawing when they redid Mears Park to structure the little streams and everything. So I've been involved. I've been around the mayor's office with Coleman and different people, and ran a restaurant, a small business in St. Paul for 22 years. Born in St. Paul, lived in St. Paul. I love St. Paul. I think Lowertown is actually the jewel of St. Paul. I mean, it's the hippest part of St. Paul. It's got the most potential of St. Paul. So in my career, what I do is I do a lot of design work, mostly interiors, space planning for major hospitality people internationally. I've worked all over the world. I've worked for Walt Disney. I've worked for Radisson's, Four Seasons Hotels. I've done places in Honduras and Mexico and Paris, France. And I've had a lot of experience working with really big-time developers. I mean, big-time developers. Disney Development Company is huge. Their budgets are huge. I met Bill, became aware of this project. I think the potential, the revenue streams that could be developed off this building are unbelievable. And it boggles my mind that there's even this conversation going on with the people in the city. And Annie, you're smiling and all that, but I'm telling you, Saints are secondary to this neighborhood. You know, if the Saints can't fit in this neighborhood, the Saints are gonna have to adapt. The neighborhood shouldn't adapt. You know, we live here, this is our city. So I think, you know, looking at everything, the whole situation, realizing that the mayor's office is frantically trying to tear this building down to end the conversation.
That's exactly what's happening.
Also considering that, you know, just the whole political thing that goes on in this city sometimes just makes me ill. You know, I mean, I think that the citizens, their potential, what we can have, St. Paul's the capital of Minnesota.
Yes.
We're the capital city. We're treated like a bunch of bumpkins from Northfield. You know, I think that we deserve the city to stop all their plans and stop projecting their plan for 3 days. They've had 3 days to develop the visual that is just basically like a little propaganda piece that they put up. But 3 days thinking about this thing. Hasco's got a couple thousand hours in this thing for nothing. Just because he loves St. Paul and wants to be part of the deal. I think we, Hasco, me, you, we deserve a moratorium on any development on this thing and get an unbiased, uninfluenced architectural design group, somebody from out of state, somebody that's not DFL, somebody that's not involved with the mayor's office, and analyze the whole situation from a cost revenue. What are the revenue streams? What are the costs? What are the deficits? Thanks.
How is it going to be done? How would we initiate that kind of change?
I'm going to get to that in the call to action here in a couple minutes. Nadine, you have a question or comment you want to make?
Hello, my name is Nadine. I'm deaf, hard of hearing. Okay, I'm hard of hearing. You hear me okay? Yes. Okay. I work for the Department of Insurance and okay, for the state. Okay. Now I lived here 13 years. I moved here. What does Twin City mean? Oh, what's that? You know, St. Paul? Oh, St. Paul. I got the job work for the state. I like St. Paul because it's so quiet, 39, clean. And I work for the deaf-hearing. I learned a lot of deaf people, deaf-hearing people here. They have Top the Hall, that club in St. Paul, Marshall and Fairview, 3. That Top the Hall had 125 years there in St. Paul. And also I learned a lot of deaf people and hard of hearing, deaf blind. They go to baseball in Twin City and Indiana, too far. Oh, well. Why not here, St. Paul? Baseball would be great. Many disabilities live here around this area in St. Paul. And there's an apartment here too. And they have a house, they're close to here to St. Paul too. And also, the deaf people have a tournament. I think it's every 2 or 4 years. They cannot find a place. They have to go all the way up to Bridgeville. They go all the way to the Rapids. It's too far. Many deaf people live here in this area, St. Paul. Some, they live in Minneapolis. Very few deaf people there. So I said, why not taxable? It would be nice to have a baseball here. And why not the deaf people come here for a baseball tournament? And also, the Deaf and Rarest, Deaf Nation conference come to Minneapolis, and why not here? It'll be nice in St. Paul. I like St. Paul. So,
yes, ma'am. You've had your hand up a long time.
I'm probably the oldest person in the room, and I can remember when downtown St. Paul in the 30s was a very exciting and vibrant place. I lived overseas for a good part of my life, but I came back here 20 years ago. And I have been very sad to see what short-sighted thinking appears to be going on in Minnesota politics, whether it's DFL or Republican. Downtown St. Paul right now has a terrible parking problem. One reason that so many retail and other businesses moved out to the suburbs originally was because long before the landmark building was threatened, parking was not free. So the suburbs began to develop and pick up all of that parking. They had the parking space. So way back then, the failure to address the parking problem is one reason that downtown St. Paul began to sink. Some places were required to build parking for customers or residents. Unfortunately, the city has recently not been able to see that there are enough spaces for the people who are living downtown to keep their cars. A lot of families have to be 2-car families, and there certainly is not provision for 2 cars per household. But I think that the inflexibility that was shown in the development of light rail is now being the same symptom again. We didn't know about enough of the consequences. Again, the accounting, the breakdowns on costs have been very much the last thing for us to hear about. The church that I belong to in the last year, 2 years, has managed to repurpose their, 80-year-old building into something that's very new and will work for the next 25 or 30 years, I believe. I've seen how they did it. They started by, what do we need? What are the things that we want to have there? And then they priced it out over and over and over again. They also hired people to plan so that when the contracts came out, we had the proper 20 or 30 or 35% minority businesses represented. It can be done, but that's got to be the goal, a big, long-term picture. And certainly the parking is more important for downtown than whether it's a baseball park. I like the idea of cricket. Maybe you could get a little soccer field for kindergartners. But I think we really must think about the 20-year period, not just now. Thank you.
I wish that the city would do one of two things. I wish that they would either kill this project, say, we don't care about the merits of it, just kill it, or give us real numbers, because what you've given us so far, they're pretty dubious. And I don't think people believe them. You know, we looked at them and they did not add up. So one of those two things I think would help.
Kind of come near the end here. I don't know much more. What time is it? What time is it? 9:30? We have one of, I love you. It's just, we have two very different viewpoints. And all of us in this room want the Saints to come down here. I think we have that agreement. I've been down here a long time, and I think we're about to make a big mistake. How many of you in this room think we're about to make a big mistake?
Well, can I say something?
Terry, real quick, yes. Terry, real quick, yes.
I was rather unhappy with the Saints person who said we were my Bowery. There are highly qualified people here. You've got corporate leaders living here.
John.
I'm a PhD. I've got people in corporate in our building are authors and everything else.
Close to your mouth, Terry.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people living in Lowertown, and to infer that we're just a bunch of Boweries and all that. I was incensed about that. I didn't like it.
I did not say Bowery. Did anybody hear me say Bowery?
Yes. I heard that we were.
I'm sorry, but I did not. So I just want to be clear.
Okay, you didn't say Bowery, but I'm using the inference.
I apologize. That's not at all.
We are, this is highly qualified. These are top people in this area. And there's thousands of people living here. And they're impacting all of us. And we don't like it.
What can we do? Mayor Coleman, he wants the building down. You know, at this point, no matter what we say, he's right, we're wrong. You know, it's just...
Shame on him. Shame on the mayor. Shame on the mayor.
He's wrong. If I thought this was a good idea, I would look you in the eye and tell you. I've been here, we've made a lot of mistakes. Look at Gaultier Plaza. I heard this doesn't have a feasibility study. Look what happened to Gaultier Plaza. Look what happened to Town Square, the World Trade Center. Feasibility studies don't often turn out the way we've been told they're going to. You got a man like Charles that knows the world. He says, we got something pretty big on our hands. I mean, this guy's an expert. You know? What can we do? You can email on your, if you haven't already,
fire the mayor. Fire the mayor.
This isn't about politics right now. Okay?
We don't have to fire anyone.
This isn't about politics.
Work together as
Okay?
a community.
What can you do at this point? You've got your, take another flyer on your way out if you can. There's the mayor's email address, his phone number, CC the council. Tell them your thoughts. 60 letters were delivered to them this morning by the Market House people. There's also a petition form up here. If you'd like to take a petition form with the flyer, sell this idea to people. Start collecting signatures. Let the mayor see 100, 200, 300. This will have impact. Maybe we can get 1,000 signatures, maybe 2,000, maybe 5,000. If everybody in this room found 20 people to put their name on the list, that starts adding up very quickly.
Excuse me, I'm going to go. I apologize. It's my dad's in the emergency room, so I need to go call my family. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Word of mouth, emails, as I just said. Oh, Chuck, you still around here?
Yes.
Show this short video here real quick. How many of you were here 2 weeks ago? We did a little online petition for the mayor, and we're going to do it again. Not as many people now as we did that. But on cue, we asked people to look at the camera. Judy's back there tonight. And Chuck's going to show you what we did 2 weeks ago. Maybe we can do a little repeat of that tonight, in addition to the petition and the emails. It's not hopeless. It isn't.
Calls, he's too busy to answer your phone
Well then, Catherine, you take one of those petition sheets and you get 20 or 30 or 40 people to sign, okay?
But I'm not voting yet.
Hold it right. It'll get louder. Dave's saying piles and piles of letters and emails, and he has gotten a lot. Here's a petition for you, folks. I'll tell you.
Everybody who wants this looked at, just looked at in a reasonable and fair manner, stand up and where's the camera at, Bill? Stand up and wave at the camera back there in the corner. Wave at the camera. This is your petition.
Isn't that lovely? That's you. Your taxpayers. This is your home.
That is good.
As we get closer to the end of this, I'll give you some contact information too. And there was a sign-up sheet.
So the theme of this effort is there is still time and let's do it right. There's a man named Councilmember Dave Thune who said that about a month ago, right?
Yeah, yes.
That was wise. Everybody stand up, look at the camera and say there's still time, let's do it right. Wave at the camera.
Do the job right or not at all?
There's still time, let's do it right.
Do it right.
Listen to us. Listen to us.
Is there a Catherine Hansen in here? Okay, before anybody goes, have a seat. We're going to have a little culture right now. Come up here, Catherine. Catherine sent me a very sweet email a couple of weeks ago, a month or two ago. She wrote a poem about this, and I don't, most of you have not heard this, but she's going to read it to you right now. Have a seat for 2 more minutes, okay?
Lines for Lowertown. Lines for Lowertown. Give the people a voice to make our choice. We pay the tax. We want the chance to relax in an amphitheater all year long. Don't mess it up. It's the last chance we'll get to reuse our resources, to recycle Gillette. Who knows? It may even be noted by Larry Millette. Support baseball and community. The people and saints will rejoice.
Thank you for coming. If you have more questions, I'll stick around if you want.